Welcome to Fayetteville Community Church. We welcome our church family and our visiting friends. Thank you for coming to worship with us. To find out more about our church, upcoming events, and other church activities, you may visit us online at www.fccnc.us.
But I feel like today's message is one that all of us, everybody that raised your hand a minute ago, is one that we need. So, I've got this handout with notes on the back where you can keep your notes. But, I'm going to give you this. This is a blank piece of paper. Everybody see a blank piece of paper, right? And there should be some more ink pens somewhere if we need some more. And if you don't have a pen, steal your neighbor's. But, hang on to this blank piece of paper until I tell you that you're going to need it. Don't write notes on it. Don't be drawing pictures on it. Because there's something specific that I want you to do with this blank piece of paper, okay? So ushers, if you'll help me, make sure everybody gets the normal handout that wants a handout. But everybody, I would love for everybody in here to have a blank piece of paper, okay? Everybody in the house. All right. I won't worry over anything, but I will sing. Jesus, you are King. Sing that line again. I won't worry over anything, but I will sing. Jesus, you are King. The Bible says, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. So this morning, I want you to say that one more time. I won't worry over anything, but I will sing. Jesus, you are King. Let me ask you something this morning. The title of my message is, it's time to get rid of your worries. Time's up. Time to quit worrying about stuff. And you think, oh, that's way easier than it seems. Absolutely. Look at the guy on there. Is that any of you ever? Me too. So I want to ask you something this morning. And I don't want you to say it out loud. You can say it out loud if you want to, but I don't think you're going to want to. What are you worried about? What is it that you're worried about? What is the thing, if you could write it down, and don't write it down anything yet, if you could write down something that you were worried about, what would it be that you were worried about? Now, if you're like most people, you're probably worried about your weight. That might not be at the top of your list, but somewhere along the line, you'd be thinking about it. Right? There was a survey done by the Benetton Health Institute in the UK. And they said that is the number one concern for most people. And here are the top 10 worries that they came up with, starting with number 10, working our way down. Let's look at them. Number 10, diet. Number 9, job security. Number 8, I feel like I'm David Letterman or something. Number 8, rent. Mortgage payment, whichever. Number 7, credit card debt. Number 6, low energy level, just not feeling good. Number 5, overdrafts and loans. How many of you have ever had an overdraft from the bank because of something dumb that you did, and then they overdraft again, then they overdraft again, and the absolute devil is in that. Let me just tell you that. Absolute devil. Teresa and I, this week, we had a thing where the bank actually sent one check through 2 times. Let me say that again. And if you're BB&T and you're watching this morning online somewhere, just let me tell you, this is the dumbest thing ever. They sent one check through, so we called first. If you have any problems with your checking account, please call our BB&T customer service. I should have said BB&T, shouldn't I? It was really PNC. But let me back up. But anyway, this has nothing to do with my message either, but this made me so mad. When you ever play Monopoly? Monopoly. There's a card in there that says, bank error in whose favor? Your favor, and you get money, right? Okay, so we figured that when we called BB&T, it was pretty much like a Monopoly game. You call them, it's an error that they made in our favor. It's our turn. We get our money back because they took the same check out of our account twice. So we called the 1-800 number, blah, 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 blah. Didn't work. We called the lady at the bank. Ma'am, could you please help us at our local bank? Could you please help us? She said, well, you're going to need to come in and fill out what was it, Teresa? What was it called? A grievance, whatever, form. What? I'll be glad to. So all week long, Teresa's like, Wesley, you going to go by the bank? Yeah, I'll go by the bank. So finally, I went by there Thursday about 4:30, and of course, there was a line out the door. So I said, Friday morning, 9 o'clock, I'll be there. So I went there first thing in the morning. Well, sit down, Mr. Pritchard. So what did she do? Calls the 1-800 number. Talks to the same little girl that already has most of a piece of my mind. Just let me tell that. There's not much of my mind left in this little girl. Gets the same little girl on the phone that I have already talked to. All right, so she's sitting across the table. She said, yes. And she's on speakerphone. Yes. You would like to talk to Mr. Pritchard? He's sitting right here in my office. Hold on just a second. Mr. Pritchard? Yes. Mr. Pritchard, it is our, we really think that your account needs to be closed because of fraud. What? Whoa, time out. No. You ran a check through twice. It's not my problem. This is not fraud. This is not somebody hacking into my account and taking a bunch of money out of my account. This is a piece of paper that your lady went 2 times. That's what I told her on the phone. I said, it went through 2 times. Of course, I wasn't her favorite person from a few minutes ago anyway. So when I went to her, that really messed her up. But I said, no, ma'am. Absolutely not under any circumstances. Have you ever had to close an account for any reason? And all your drafts that come out of your account and all that stuff, it is the biggest worry. Oh, this has been on the top of my list all week. Finally. So she said, so sir, what you're telling me is you do not want to close your account. And the check was for $63. And if it had been $6,300, it'd have been a little bit different with this lady on the phone. She would have had all of my mind, not just a piece of it. But I said, no, ma'am, I do not want you to close my account. She said, Mr. Pritchard, I am suggesting to you in the best interests of our bank and your account that you close your account immediately. I said, absolutely not. It is not my problem. It's a problem that you did where the lady did that thing twice and let it go through. I said, absolutely no. So she said, I need to speak to the lady who was in the bank. I said, okay. And then she said, would you pick up the phone? Not to me. To her. So, she picks up the phone. Yes, I will get him to sign the forms. Yes, thank you very much. Click. So anyway, then I'm sitting there and you can just barely see the side of her computer monitor. You know how they turn them where you can't see them? But nosy me, I'm going. Try my best to see what's on and this big red message comes on there. Close account immediately. After I had told her, absolutely not under any circumstance. So the lady goes, she's sitting there at the computer. She said, my superiors have suggested that I close your account. I said, absolutely not. I said, you need to talk to a superior from that lady that you were just talking to on the phone that's a higher up superior than what that one is. Anyway, long story short, I signed the papers not to close my account, but to say that I had a grievance. I didn't have no grievance with the bank. They just messed up. I wasn't mad at them until then. I wasn't worried about nothing until then. But then they said this, Lord, if you're watching President of BB&T, I would like for you to know that we love you and we're building the barn, and we would love to have BB&T's name on the barn somewhere if you would like to help us out. So just letting you know that. But here was the thing. I said, absolutely not. Don't close my account under any circumstance. So you said, okay, here's the thing. You have, if we find that this is an error that we have made, then in 7 to 10 working days, we will refund your money. But we have 90 days to investigate you and your account and the way that you do your account to make sure that we hadn't done anything wrong. So when you look at number 5 on overdrafts and loans, I'm moving that to number 1 on me this week. Just let me tell you that. Okay, worry. It just upsets you. And then you're thinking, did I really do something wrong? Did I really go to the copier and print out 2 checks and send them to the same place and let the lady go with them twice? Was it really my fault? And then it puts something else in the back of your mind that you're thinking, what in the world have I done? Okay, number 4. We'll keep going. See, number 5 messed with my overall fitness. It messed me up. Number 3. I'm $63 in the hole as we stand today. My financial future over the next 90 days is $63 in jeopardy. Okay, number 2. You shouldn't have been shopping at New York and Company in the first place, and it wouldn't have been a mess because they're the ones that did it to start with. That lady, she's probably the one that did it anyway. And it's causing me gray hair, number 2. So that's the next one. Your shopping spree. Get a debit card. No, listen. That right there, and well, Teresa, she just likes writing checks. She likes paper trails, everything. And then, of course, my mama thinks it's the mark of the beast. So I have both of my mama and my wife that will not use. Mama did get a debit card, didn't you? Stand up. I need to cast the devil out of you this morning. Amen. Stand up right now. Number one. Number one. Number one. Number one. Number one. Yes. Overweight. Number 1. So after I left BB&T, I went and ate a double cheese just because I was worried about it. So most of my top 10 worries are from Eastover Branch, ladies and gentlemen. Nah. But look at this. If you look at these top 10 things, and I know, listen, there's some of you that are in the same boat as I am. You'll let something like that rock your world. And I don't want it, Tim. It'll just be on the top of your mind no matter what you go through your day. Is anybody else like that? Am I just weird? And you'll be looking at the monitor too. But look at this. 3 observations. Now look at it. Keep that list there just a second. Mostly fall into 2 categories if you kind of lump it all together. The health and finances. Those across the board, whether you're in Fayetteville, North Carolina, or New York City, or if you're in Haiti, or if you're in Moldova, or if you're in anywhere in the world, those are the 2 main human concerns in the world. How am I going to get money to do what I need to do? How am I going to live another day? How am I going to get food, be able to purchase stuff? And here's the other thing about all that whole list. Probably, for some of us, no, but for most of us, yes. This is a list, go back one more time. This is a list that you're probably going to have your whole life. I mean, you may scratch one of them off the list and say, no, we're completely out of debt. We don't have any credit card debt, and I feel good about my weight. I feel good about, we're going to grow old. I heard Eva Mae Lefevre say one time, I don't know if you remember Eva Mae, she was 95 or 96. She said, growing old, it's kind of like getting pregnant. Sooner or later, everybody's going to find out. So sooner or later, we're all going to know that we're old. Hey, this same survey, look at this. This same survey said that each week we spend 14.31 hours worrying. That equals 744 hours of worry each year. Now look at this. Which turns into 45,243 hours of worry over a lifetime. Or 1,885 days in a lifetime spent doing nothing but worrying. Which means that if you live an average life, you're going to spend 5.2 years of your life doing nothing but worrying. 5 years. Now I can tell you this morning, sitting under the sound of my voice in this place, there are some of you that 2013 has been 20% of that 5.2. That you've spent most of this year worrying. You've spent most of this year with something rocking your world. And now for some of us, you think about it. No wonder we have trouble sleeping. We got all kind of junk going through our mind all the time. Does anybody else say amen to that? We're under pressure. It's hard to concentrate. And for some of us, if we went back to that list, it would be one thing on the top 10 list or whatever. Or you could make your own list. But for a lot of us, it's a whole lot of things wrapped up together that just begin to weigh us down and weigh us down. Your job, your work, your school, your health, your bills to pay, your husband, your wife, your ex-husband, your ex-wife, the in-laws, the outlaws, the kids. And it keeps going. And if we look at the list, most of us could handle one or even two things. But when you get three or four together, your knees kind of start to buckle because of the weight on your back. And we almost seem strangled. We almost seem like we're in a stranglehold that we cannot get away from it. Now look at this. To worry is to give way to anxiety or unease. To allow one's mind to dwell on difficulty or on troubles. So the word comes from an old English word which means to strangle. Look at this now. Worry actually means to strangle or to seize by the throat. To crush your throat. Now think about it. Now that to me, that's a good image because a lot of times our worries of our daily life seem to just capture us where we can't breathe anymore. That's what I wanted to do with that little lady. No, we don't. I mean that on the phone. We had some friends in our church that I don't know if they're here this morning. If you're not, we miss you. But they had a little boy that was born with a ton of health issues. And the daddy said he felt like this. He said, I feel like I've been on a roller coaster because the doctor first, this is what he said in the hospital. He said, the doctor first gave us bad news. Then he gave us good news. Then he gave us some more news that was a little bit confusing. Then I felt like I was kind of taken to the top of hope. And then I was dropped to the bottom of no hope. And this roller coaster of emotions just kept going. And he said this, I found that it squeezes my mind while I'm trying to do other things. I find that it's squeezing my mind. I find that it's putting my mind in a vice, and that one thing is taking over everything else about my being. See, worry is the excessive concern over the affairs of life. It's concern over things that are going. And the key word in this is excessive. Worry kind of happens when you're so concerned about the problems of life that you really can't think about anything else. And it's an all-consuming feeling of uncertainty and fear. And here's something else, and you might not know this, and if you don't know this, it's the truth. Worry is a sin. And worry is a sin for two reasons. Look at this now. Worry displaces God in your life. You know, one of the 10 commandments says, thou shalt have no what? Other gods before who? And a lot of us get to the point where we are so strangled by the cares of life and the things that are going on that worry actually takes the place of who God is in our life. And we begin to be strangled. When you commit the sin of worry, it's like that you're living as though God doesn't even exist and that you alone are the ruler of the universe. And the other reason that worry is a sin is because worry distracts you from things in your life that really matter. It takes you away from being the mother or the father or the sister or the brother or the mom or the dad that you need to be. So, how can we tell when things in our lives are legitimate concerns? Because all of us should have those. Or how does legitimate concerns in our life become sinful worries? Let me give you 3 practical things and look at this. When the thing that you're concerned about is the first thing that you think about in the morning and the last thing that you think about before you go to bed at night. When you find yourself thinking about it during every spare moment of the day. Or, number 3, if you find out you keep bringing it up in conversations, somehow it will continually come up in a conversation about the lot that you have been dealt and about what's going on in your life. And seen in that light, if you really think about it, most of us probably really worry more than we would like to admit. So you're thinking, holy moly, when's it going to get to the good stuff? Teresa always says that. She said, your setup brings us to a place where we just feel like we are just so hopeless. But then I'm going to pour on the hope here in just a minute. So, what's God's answer to our worries? In my Bible, I have, let me see how many pages is in my Bible. 2,576 pages. It's in there. But let me tell you a quick way to find it. Go to 1 Peter 5:7. 1 Peter 5:7 says this. Casting all of your cares on him. How many? All. On who? Him. Why? Because he cares for you. Casting all of your cares upon him. I mean, that's taking your weekly reading of 2,576 pages down to just a little bit. Casting all of your cares upon him because he cares for you. Now I want you to look at these translations. The King James says this. Casting all your cares upon him before he careth for you. This one says, throw all of your anxieties upon him because he cares about you. This one says, you can throw the whole, this is Phillips, you can throw the whole weight of your anxieties upon him, for you are his personal concern. I love that one. The Message says this, live carefree before God. Because he is most careful with you. I like that one too. Live carefree. And the Voice says, since God cares for you, let him carry all of your burdens and all of your worries. That one verse. Since God cares for you, let him carry all your burdens and all your worries. One verse. And look at what does it say? All your cares, your anxieties, your burdens, your worries. That covers everything that we're going through. Cares, anxieties, burdens, worries. But look, the great thing about it is God takes all of those things, whatever he calls them in the first part of that verse, in whatever translation that you like to read, he said, I'm taking all of those things, I'm taking every part of your life, and I'm saying no matter what you choose, I'm going to make an invitation for you. Take your worries, take your cares, take your burdens, take your anxieties, and give them to me. So what I want to do, I want to take just for a moment, and I'm going to give you 4 things. I'm going to give you 4 things that verse talks about. And how we can begin. Because let me tell you, it's a choice. Like we talked about a minute ago. It's a choice on beginning to cast your cares upon him. It's a choice that you make. So number 1, a definite action. A definite action. How many fishermen are here this morning? What do? What's this? Cast. Cast, throw, get rid of, get them away, throw them as far as you can, get out as far as you can get. Take a weight and put on the end of it so it never comes back again. Cast, everybody say that. Cast, how much? All of what? Your cares. On who? On him. Cast them, throw them, get rid of them. Now look at these. I'm going to give you these quick, and I put these down, but I want you to look these up in your handout. Cast. Psalm 55:22 says, cast your burden on the Lord, he will sustain you. Psalm 56:3 says, when I am afraid, I put my trust in you. Psalm 37:5 says, commit your way to the Lord and trust in him, he will act. Matthew 6:25, I love this. Don't be anxious about your life, what you will eat or what you will drink, nor about your body, what you will put on. Is not life more than food and body and clothing? Some teenagers don't think so, but we know that that's the truth. Matthew 6:34 says, do not be anxious about what? Tomorrow. For tomorrow will be anxious for itself. Sufficient for the day is its own trouble. What's that saying? It's saying, Jeff, there's enough stuff that we got to think about today than foreboding about what's going to come tomorrow. Can somebody say amen? Amen. Hebrews 13:5 says this. Oh, I skipped one, didn't I? Philippians 4:6. Do not be anxious about anything, but in everything by prayer and supplication. What's prayer and supplication? That's prayer, Lord Jesus, and telling him about it. I'm giving it to you. Hey, you might not want to hear this, Lord, but I'm fixing to lay it on you. Prayer and supplication with thanksgiving. with thanksgiving. Lord, I thank you today that I can come to you and I can come to you alone and I can tell you exactly how I feel about this situation, Lord. I'm not going to spare anything. I'm not going to let you hold it exactly the way I feel, because guess what? He hears about it anyway. Let your requests be known to God. And then finally, we have this promise in Hebrews 13:5. He has said this. Read this with me. I will never leave you nor forsake you. You ever felt alone? You ever felt all by yourself in a situation? You ever felt like nobody else really didn't care? Now, any of these verses that I just gave you that's in your handout this morning, if you take any one of those, you could actually build any kind of sermon on the greatness and the goodness of what God is to you as a person. You could take any one of those and establish a good court case against the enemy for why we shouldn't worry. But let me promise you this morning. God intends that you never be strangled by worry. He's saying this. He's saying, I've done everything necessary to allow you to cast, to throw, to give me your problems. 1 Peter 5:7 again says, cast, to throw off. The word cast means to throw off with vigor. To throw it hard, to get rid of it, to get it away from you. It's like this. Hey, Teresa, give me that bag. Any one of those bags. Yeah. It's like this. You ever went hiking? Any of you ever hike? Or any of you guys, military guys, ever carried a rucksack? And you got that 40-pound rucksack. How much is it, Kyle? 80-pound rucksack. That's when I was in the military. It's 40. No, it's kidding. I was never in the military. But it's like a hiker that has had a pack on his back. And it seems like I've seen guys in our neighborhood that are hiking. And you see them like this. And the beginning of their walk, they're kind of like this. And then they start going. And after a while, they're just down. They can't stand the weight of what's on their back. But what Jesus is saying here is get rid of it. What was in that? Not check number 3900, I can promise you that. It's like twice through the bank. Release it. Let it go. Let it drop. Don't tote it around anymore. Get to the summit where you're heading. Find your destination that you're going to. Change your mindset and say, Lord, I'm crossing this finish line and I ain't taking this with me anymore. Now let me ask you something. How hard did that try to hang on when I released it? None. Because I made a choice to take it off of my back and throw it across the room. That's casting. That's throwing. That's throwing it off with vigor. That's not carrying. That's saying, you know what? I ain't doing this no more. I am not allowing this to affect every area of my life ever again. I want to release the anxiety. I want to let it go. Personally, I tend to hang on to problems and not do that to them. And you know why that I do that sometimes? And some of you may or may, you can say amen under your breath if you want to. Sometimes I feel more comfortable. Now this is dumb. I had a friend one time that I said, you know what? He is not happy if he ain't miserable. You had people like that? They just weren't happy unless they had mess going on. But sometimes I feel more comfortable when I'm worrying about my family, or I'm worrying about my finances, or I'm worrying about my future. Why? Because I feel like if I'm worried about it, I'm still in control of it. She got to say, you're fine, baby. That's life right there. You let her have a good time. She's fine. Grandma's going to get her now, ain't she? That's just the way Jesus wants to do to you right there. He wants to take all of your cares and all your troubles and say, come on, I'll change your diaper. I'll take all the mess that you've made. I'll fix you. And y'all are all looking over to him. But he's saying, I'll take everything you've done and I'll wrap it all up and I'm going to throw it away and I'm going to put you in my arms and say, hey, you know what? I love you and I care for you. I'm going to feed you. I'm going to take care of you. Don't worry about what you're eating. Don't worry about what you're drinking. Throw it away and let's start all over. We all like to be in control. Now look at this. Well, Worry gives us an illusion. Everybody say an illusion. You ain't got to do it like that, but look at this. As long as I'm worrying about blank, I can do something about it. Blank. And the reason I left it blank is because your blank and my blank are totally different. That's why I gave you the blank piece of paper. Your blank and my blank are different. So it's sometimes while I'm talking to you, I want you to begin to fill in the blank on the blank piece of paper. Okay? Just sometime, as long as I'm worrying about blank, and it could be someone's name, it could be a situation, it could be finances, it could be weight, it could be all the different things. It could be one of the top 10 that I had a minute ago. But as long as I'm worrying about blank, I can do something about it. Now look, there's a fine line between worry, like I talked a minute ago, and legitimate concern. Teresa and I were on a trip with Ernie Haas a few months ago, and we talked to a family from Dodge City, Kansas. And they were a great family, and they had a son that was autistic, and he was a big boy. I mean, the daddy was probably, what, Teresa, 6'3", 6'4", and the boy was 15, and he was like 6'4", 6'5", right at him. He was a big boy. And any of you know that if you've ever had a child like that, a special child, it seems they're stronger than anybody you can ever imagine. And this kid he just would like tower over his daddy. And I asked the daddy, I said, remember the boy's name, Trey? No. I asked the boy's daddy, I said, do you worry about him? Do you worry about your son and what's going to go on with him? Because he was pretty severely autistic. I mean, the kid had some issues. And I said, he said, well, I don't know if it's worry. He said this, look at this. I kind of feel like that my son is a special assignment from the Lord to me. He said, I'm happy to meet his needs, but we have a healthy, happy family because we understand that we don't have to worry about this, that we're just in a place where this is what we've been given and we're going to take care of this. See, Peter's not telling us to blow off all the concerns of life. He's not telling us that if there's a situation or something in your life that you need to be concerned about, like this family was about their son, that they have to deal with 24/7, literally 24/7. To not blow all those things off and not to worry about it. Because you got to think about things, your job and your education, your finances, your children, your health, your friendships, and your plans. We make decisions every single day. When you get up in the morning, you're going to make a decision to go to work, right, Dustin? You're going to make a decision what time it is to go to lunch. And if you don't do those things, if you don't begin to have legitimate concerns about those things, eventually you won't be the employee that you need to be, and you won't have a job anymore. Then what happens? You go to Wendy's, you eat a triple because you're worried about stuff, right? You hear me? And then the ball starts rolling. You get gray hair like me, right? What Peter's saying is make plans, make wise plans in all the different areas. Make good decisions, but don't be strangled with worries on things that you cannot control in your life. Some things we can control, we can put our hand on, but some things we can't. So look, cast, release, throw the full weight of the anxiety, get rid of it, unload it. Okay, number 2, a deliberate release. Cast what? All your cares, everything. What's he asking for here? Not one thing left out. I did this a few weeks ago. I sat down and I made a list. I made a list about everything that I could think of. I took a piece of paper and I made a list of everything that I was worried about. You think, you're the preacher. You shouldn't be worried about anything. You're preaching this sermon. Absolutely. And guess who I'm preaching to? The guy at BB&T. Because I ain't perfect, I promise you that. I mean, really. I told you last week, don't be putting a sign of fish on your car when you're flying a bird inside, right? You know, don't go with 2 different animals. But sometimes the strong man that's inside of us and the attitudes that we have tend to come out in a hurry. Amen? Okay, so I took a piece of paper and I wrote down some things. When I finished with the list, I had 43 things on that list. 43 things. And you're thinking, wow, you're an overachiever. I had 43 things on the list. And then when I sat down for a minute and looked at the list, I thought of 4 more things. And then when I read the list back, I thought about this. Look at this. First of all, nothing on that list had an earth-shaking impact. Nothing did. Most of them were just normal concerns of everyday life. Nothing was in the category of bringing peace to the Middle East. Nothing was in the category of world peace. Most of the things on my list were kind of trivial things. Things that really I don't need to even be concerned that much about. But when you look at my list cumulatively and begin to add all those things up, there were things that began to really weigh on me. And number 2, when I really looked at the list, I really didn't have the ability or the power to solve those things on my own at all. At least not immediately. Like if one of my concerns was the trash stinking in the house, I could pretty much take care of that one and take the trash out. That don't need to be on my list of, oh Lord, I'm so worried that chicken's going to start stinking in that trash can. It will. So what do you do with the trash? Amen. Some things will take care of themselves. Some things we just need to actually pick up and do. But there are other things in our life that are going to involve the timing of the Lord. And there are some things on that list that I saw that are going to require me to every day sit down and pray about those things. After I made my whole list, this is where I got the idea for this sermon. I sat down at the bottom of my list and I wrote this down. 1 Peter 5:7. Casting all your cares upon him because he cares for you. That sums up the whole thing. Even though I've got a list of stuff that I'm concerned and I'm worried about, the bottom line is, you know what? He knows me better than anybody. He knows every hair on my head. He knows every tear that I've ever shed. He knows what I'm crying about. He knows what I'm upset about. He knows what makes me get to the place where I feel like I can't eat. Cast all. Everyone. Let's go on. Number 3, a divine destination. Cast all your cares on who? Okay, this is going to get good. Give me just a minute. It's going to get really good. Okay, either he carries the worries or I carry the worries. Now look at this. I love this. If I carry the worries myself, I'm going to be divided, distracted, disturbed, confused, frustrated, and burdened. Any of you ever been that way? Divided, distracted, disturbed, confused, frustrated, burdened. If he carries the load, I may still have some difficulties and I may have some trouble, but I will not have the consuming anxiety or the dominating fear or the undue concern and no hopeless despair, because I know somebody's walking along beside of me that's helping me carry this load. Jesus said, you know what? I'll carry your backpack toward heaven. You don't have to carry it anymore. Strip it off. Cast it off. Give it to me. Let me carry it for a while. And not just your burdens. It's not just that your burdens are going to be carried. Look at this. It's not just those things that you've carried around in that backpack. It's who is carrying your backpack. It's He. It's the Lord of the universe. He's going to carry them. He who is before all things. He who is above all things. He that created all things. He that's our Savior. He that knows and loves us. He who came for you. He that died for you. He that rose again for you. He will one day come again for you. He's the one. He said, cast all your cares on Him. He's the one. He will personally carry your worries. Why should we ever lug anything around for a day when the ruler of the universe that knows you so well will do it for you? Why would you ever cling to your problems when the Lord of the earth said, I'll do it for you? Why would we stagger under that load when the Lord says, let me carry that for you? Here's an invitation Jesus says, will you let me carry your burdens? Will you let me carry your burdens? How can you say no? How can you say no? A delightful reason, number 4. A delightful reason. Cast all your cares on who? Why? Because he cares for you. Because he cares for you. What hope in the time of trouble? When Peter wrote this, if you looked at that whole verse again, cast all your what? Cares upon him because, now look, the same words again. Because he what? So cast all your cares. So you got cares here and you got cares here in the same sentence. Now, in the original Greek, this cares at the beginning of the sentence was translated worries, anxieties. In the second half, it means to fix your thoughts on something else. To fix your thoughts on something. One writer wrote it this way, and he said, cast all your cares upon him because so much thought is given of you. I'm thinking about you. I'm thinking about what you need. Cast all your cares because I'm thinking about you. My heart is fixed on you and what you need. What does that mean? It means he has you on his heart. If you're here today and you have never accepted Jesus as the Lord and the Savior of your life, let me tell you this. He loves you and he wants more than ever that you can imagine in your life to develop a love relationship with you personally. So what do you mean? It's like this. It's like a mother that is waiting on her child after surgery. Nothing could change her focus to think that she was sitting there waiting on her child. She was thinking about, I cannot wait to see my child's face. Think about a soldier that's coming home from a war, how his family makes everything ready and how they think and they hope and they pray for his safe return. And they're waiting for the day when he walks back through the door. They're thinking about those things. Think about a husband that comes along from a long trip and his wife cannot wait to see him, and she cleans the house and gets the whole house ready for him to come back through the door. Or think about the prodigal son. In the story, Jesus said that much thought was given to him by his father, how he waited and watched and hoped. And nothing would deter that father. The neighbor said he was crazy. They said, come on inside. This boy ain't never coming home. But the Bible says that his son was on his heart. And at the first sign of the horizon, that the old man looked and saw the sun coming over the hill, and he ran out to meet him. That's what he's talking about. Cast all your cares upon him because I am longing for you to do that. I'm sitting outside in the waiting room while you're sick and waiting on you to cast it on me. I'm sitting at the house waiting on you to come back from a long trip. I'm thinking about you 24/7. He thinks about us all the time. So I want to ask you something. Can God really be tested to handle all of my stuff? If I write down all these things on here and I'm going to cast these things upon him, can I really trust him with all this stuff? I mean, I need to keep something that I'm in control of, right? We're so concerned that if we cast all of our cares upon him, somehow he'll mess it up. He'll make a mess of it. He'll ask us to do something we don't want to do. He'll send us to a place that we don't want to go. He'll bring somebody unpleasant into our lives that may try to help us with a situation that we're in. And he'll force us to be somebody that we don't want to be. Secretly, we're afraid that he really can't be trusted. So we decide to handle our problems and we wonder why that we're frustrated and we're unfulfilled. I preached on worry, I don't know how long it was now, a few months ago maybe a year ago. And there was a lady that came to me afterwards and she said, oh, I have no problems casting my care upon him. She said, but when I cast mine out, I reel them back. She said, I don't have any problem throwing upon him, But I continue that once they get away from me, I always pull them back. You ever heard the song that says, take your burdens to the Lord and leave it there? Here's the heart. Here's the absolute heart of what a Christian in Christianity and biblical Christianity is. God cares for you. He loves you. He proved how much he loved us when he gave his only son to die for us, that whoever believes in him should never what? Perish, but have everlasting life. You see, the issue of how much he cares for us and how much he loves you was actually settled on the cross. You think about it, and you can say this same statement. Any God that would sacrifice his own son for somebody like me must really care for me. There's no other reason why he would do such a thing. See, that's why when we come to God, we don't have to convince him to hear us. We don't have to chant. We don't have to shout. We don't have to burn incense or ring bells or use a priest or a sacrifice. He says, come as my child and I will gladly hear you. We don't do anything that will make God not care for you. We start from the assurance rooted in history that God cares for us because he showed what he did, Ron, on a cross. And that basis we can unload, we can give him, we can let it all go. We can unload our worries on him. Why? Because he loved us, he made us, he came for us, he died for us, he rose for us, and he's going to come again. Still, worries. How about the midnight questions? The things that are going to pop up in the middle of the night. The things that are going to keep us awake. What in my life is going to keep me awake tonight? What will tomorrow bring? Will your health hold up? Will we have a heart attack or a sudden stroke? Will we end up in a nursing home or waste away in a hospital? What about our children? Will they ever serve the Lord? What if something happens to my children? Who's going to take care of me when I'm old? Single people wonder if they're ever going to get married. Married couples look at divorce and wonder if they're ever going to make it. Am I ever going to live to see my grandchildren? We all have concerns about our jobs and our career choices and where we're going to be in 10 years. Let me give you 3 truths. 3 truths that ought to encourage you as you think about your worries. Number 1, look at this. Don't worry about tomorrow because God's already there. He said, I am the Alpha and the what? Omega, the beginning and the end. So why am I here wondering about what happened there? Because who's already there? He is. And why am I really concerned about over there? Because who's already there? He is. He says, don't worry about tomorrow. I'm already there. He's the God that goes before you and paves the way for you. Look at this, number 2. God promises to be with you no matter what happens to you tomorrow and the day after tomorrow and all the days after that and the next day. Am I going to grow old? Yes. Am I going to need somebody to take care of me? Yes. My children going to do it? I don't know. Really? Right? I'm serious. I don't know if they are. You know? Am I going to be able to walk when I'm 85 years old, 90 years old? Who knows? Will I be able to get health insurance? Who knows? God promises you no matter what happens to you tomorrow and the day after tomorrow and all the days after that. Don't worry about it. Number 3, you can live, look at this, you can live without fear because God said he has you on his heart at this very moment. Cast how many of your cares? Why? Because he, for me. He knew where you were going to be before you woke up and took your first breath. He knew where you were going to be today, that you were going to need this message today. He's not going to forget you. He can't forget you. Remember my 43 things? Probably if I started again and wrote down the 43 plus the 4 that I wrote down, if I sit down again today and wrote them, I could even make it more. But the most important thing here is not allow that situation to strangle you or suffocate you or to drain your joy. And to all of your fears of worrying, being afraid of what tomorrow's going to bring, I want to give you just a really, really simple verse. And you know what it says? Fear not. Fear not. Fear not. I am with you always. Fear not. A few weeks ago, I did a message and I saw right there, thrill kill, I saw your shirt. It says, press on. Fear not. Press on. And I gave you a list of stuff, and I want to ask you this question. When you're thinking about worries, things going to get things going to get worse? Fear not. Press on. Don't worry. Will I lose my health? Fear not. Press on. Don't worry. Will I get cancer? Fear not. Press on. Don't worry. Will I keep my job? Fear not. Press on. Don't worry. Will my loved ones undergo hardships? Fear not. Press on. Don't worry. Will my investments collapse? Fear not. Will I run out of money? Will tragedy strike my family? Will my children disappoint me? Will others ridicule my faith when I come to invite them to come to church? Fear not. Press on. Don't worry about it. Will my cherished plans come to nothing? Will my dreams turn to ashes? Will God himself forsake me? Fear not. He said, I'll be with you always. Will I face death this year? Fear not. Don't worry. He knows every hair on your head. He's concerned about everything that you are. Us, people that know Jesus. Like I said a minute ago, and if you don't know Jesus, today's your day. People, us, we ought to be more optimistic about the future than anyone else in the entire universe. Why? Because if God is before me, who can be against me? No weapon formed against me will prosper. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. So I want to give you some encouragement this morning. Chin up. Shoulders back. Shoulders back. Big shoulders, Jeff. Smile on your face. Now I want you to do this. Take your troubles. If you've written them down on the blank piece. If you hadn't written down anything, do it anyway. If you hadn't written down nothing, it doesn't matter. I want you to do this with them. All these things you wrote down, do this. There's a couple in there you really need to squish. Your turn. Throw them all. All of them. Come down here and step on them if you have to. Get them as far as you can. Get them down here. If you can't reach it from the back, come down here. Hey, help your neighbor by casting his burdens down here. Help me. Stand up. All of them. Throw them all. Every one of them. You'll never know how freeing that is. Throw them away. Bring them down here and throw them on the altar. Don't ever pick them up again. Don't ever pick them up again. Cast all, everything. Get rid of it. Get through with it. We don't need them anymore. We don't need them anymore. Throw them away. Mash them down. Step on them. Step on them. I want every one of you ushers that are in the place this morning to get up out of your seat and step on every piece of paper that's down here and squish it just as flat as you can squish it. And let them know that the enemy is not our head, that he is our tail. And the Bible says that he is our footstool. So this morning, we are casting all of our cares upon him. We are throwing them away. We're getting rid of them. We know that he cares for us. We know that the King of the universe absolutely loves us this morning. Step on them, everyone. He is under our feet. The Bible says that the enemy is under our feet. He says that we are the head and not the tail. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. I'm telling you, some of you had a moment when that thing released your hand this morning. Did you see mine? I threw it to this top step and it rolled down. I couldn't have made it. Rolled down every step and almost rolled back to me again. It did. Did you see it? It rolled almost all the way back. Cast, throw it with vigor. Get rid of it. Get rid of it. Do away with it. Some of you this morning need to come and find one of these to stand on top of and show the enemy just how you feel. If you want to come down here and find you one to stand on, come and find. And we're going to remind the enemy that he's under our feet. Come on, just find you one. Stand right there. Find you one and stand on it. Where you at, Byron? Get you two, Jeff. One under each foot. Get you a pile. I want Byron to sing this. When I started working on this message, this song was in the top of my head and I couldn't get this song out. Sing it, Byron. Sing it real easy.
Are you tired of chasing pretty rainbows? Are you tired of spinning round and round? I'm sorry.
It's all right.
Wrap up all the shattered dreams of your life, and at the feet of Jesus lay them down.
Here's the chorus.
Give them all, give them all, give them all to Jesus. Shattered dreams, wounded hearts, broken toys. Give them all, give them all, give them all to Jesus, and He will turn your sorrow into joy.
Now listen to this verse. Sing it, Byron.
He never said you would only see sunshine, and He never said there'd be no more rain.
I love this.
He only promised us a heart full of singing.
Listen to this.
That's the very thing that once brought pain.
He promised a heart full of singing about that very thing that brought you pain.
Give them all, give them all, give them all to Jesus. Shattered dreams, wounded hearts, broken toys. Give them all, give them all, give them all to Jesus, and He will turn your sorrow into joy.
Sing that last line, Byron.
Yes, and He will turn your sorrow into joy.
Can you lift your hands to the Lord? Father, in obedience to your word, I feel like we have done what your word says this morning. I feel like you've told us to take everything that we've got, Lord, and to throw it at you. To take the backpack of the heavy load of the junk that we've been toting around, just to give it to you, Lord. Jesus, I thank you that you said that you care for us, that you're thinking about us, that we are on your heart and we are on your mind. So today, Lord, I want you to look at this place this morning with people that have their hands raised to you. And I want you to know, Lord, that we are surrendering to you. We are laying it at your feet. So we're going to test you at your word, and we're going to ask you to take all of these things and all of these circumstances that we wrote down on these papers, or maybe even still be thinking about this morning, that we were too ashamed to write down. But Lord, we throw them at you. We throw them at you with everything that we have. Lord, we're not going to pick them up anymore. The cast that we do this morning is a throwaway. It's not a fish back for it, Lord. We clip the line. We put the weight on the end of it, and we clip the line, and we never want to see it again. Father, whatever that thing is that has brought us so much pain and so much worry, we speak to those things now in the name of Jesus. And we thank you, Jesus, that those things that are not like they were, that you've brought us to a place where we are changed from glory to glory. So today we give you the honor, we give you the glory with our hands up in this place today. And we thank you, Jesus, that we serve a God that loves us and cares for us, that we can pour our burdens upon. So Father, I ask you today as we walk out of this place that we don't carry anything that we threw away back out with us. That we truly will stand on faith believing and stand on that small verse that's hidden over there in Peter. It says, cast all your cares upon him, for he cares for you. We are standing on your word. We are believing that, Father, and we are believing for a rational, unbelievable change in our life, even this week, as we stand on your word and believe your word. In the name of Jesus. Say this with me. Say, Lord Jesus, today I choose to worship. I choose to praise. I choose to lift up your name above all names. And by doing that, I cast all of my cares upon you, because I know that you love me and you care for me, and you have made a difference today in my life. Thank you, Jesus, for the difference in me. Lord, we just thank you again for today and your blessings. And Lord, I ask you as everyone walks out the door, that they walk further and further and further and further away from everything they threw away this morning. In the name of Jesus. In the name of Jesus. In the name of Jesus. And everybody sit together. Amen. I love you. God bless you. See you later.